Hi, I'm Gianna.
And I'm Emily.
And this is Booked at Pace.
Woo! Okay, hello.
Hi, everybody.
So we are coming together to do our best of 2024.
Yes, and we're doing things a little differently this year.
We are.
So last year by we, I mean I made Emily pick her top 10 and she was like, I don't want to do that, but okay. And this year...
I didn't want to do it.
She didn't want to do it. But also
No.
because a lot of the books that I had last year, you wanted to read.
Yes.
So you read them this year and
Yes.
you ended up really liking them and you're like, I'm just going to pick books that we already talked about.
Yeah, exactly.
So we decided that we're actually just going to go through our Goodreads.
Yeah.
And we're not just going to talk about books that we liked. We're also going to talk about books that kind of let us down.
Yeah, a mixed bag. A mixed bag of our year in review.
We're going to keep it interesting.
Yeah.
Okay? Because you want to know one thing that we're not going to do? We're not going to be those people who are always yumming everything.
Yeah.
We're going to yuck some yums.
We have opinions.
We have opinions.
Yeah.
And I think that you guys trust us to be honest.
Yeah.
If we just told you everything that we liked all the time, where's the fun of that?
Well, and then there's no trust.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's not what we're here for.
We don't want that.
We're here for the people.
Yes, we're here for you, in case you were wondering.
Yes. So do you want to kick off or you want me to kick off?
Yeah. Where do we want to kick off?
I mean, I know right now that there's at least 2 books in January that I was about. That I really, really, really liked. And then actually one that I really didn't like.
Well, so let's talk about let's go to the bottom of our pages.
Uh-huh.
Okay, well, how many books have you read so far this year? I know the year's not over yet.
140. And you want to know what's funny? That's less than last year. I read 200 books last year.
That's fucking insane. I am at 74 and one of them is not even true, so 73. But my goal was 75. And I will hit 75. Easy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wait, but before we jump in, we actually, for our drink this episode, we just decided to pick one of our favorite drinks that we made this year. Mm-hmm. And we actually just decided to remake our drink from the Hind. It's called the Hind, which we did for House of Flame and Shadow.
Yeah.
Just a little bit of bourbon. A little bit of homemade cinnamon simple syrup, because Emily was in her homestead era.
It lasted very shortly.
I think that's the only thing that she did this year.
I made these cocktail recipes, okay?
She is our mixologist.
I'm a booze hound.
Some chocolate bitters, and then a cinnamon rim with some chocolate rim with cinnamon on it. It's very, very good. We picked it, again, for a reason.
Yeah, and it's a great winter drink.
Very good winter drink. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's so good.
Which, actually, I'm going to use this as a segue.
Do it.
This is our favorite drink of the year.
Not a favorite book?
One of my least favorite books was House of Flame and Shadow.
Least favorite?
I think that book was so strong for the first third of it.
Okay.
I was on the edge of my seat. It was bam, bam, bam. And then the next 2/3, I was like, what am I reading? And these are my very quick, brief reasons.
Spoiler free. This is a spoiler free episode.
Oh, back it up. Okay, no, this is spoiler free. Okay. The Bryce in this book was so disconnected from the Bryce of other books.
She was more unlikable.
I just didn't understand her actions. I didn't understand a lot of things about her, the way that she was treating people.
Mm-hmm.
And there's just this genuine, general, lack of awareness on her end that I was just who are you? Because you're not my Bryce.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know who you are, but I don't recognize you. Could be walking down the street, wouldn't even know her name.
Oh my God.
Sorry to this man.
So dramatic.
No, but really, I
love it.
I did not feel connected to her.
Okay.
A lot of decisions made by a lot of the characters in this book. I know it was like setting something up, but it was repetitive, ridiculous mistakes.
Yeah. I'll give you credit there. That's why I compared the book to Arrested Development.
Yeah.
Actually, that's actually really... It was like a fantasy version of Arrested Development. Like, people just making stupid mistakes.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
And I won't spoil it, but the end of the book, like the way that the conflict resolves, I was like, what?
Yeah.
It was very confusing to me. I was like, Sarah, I know that you write really good books, but what was this? Again, like the first third, I was like, this is good.
Yeah.
We were doing a readathon, and I was very far ahead of you, Olivia.
Yeah, because you don't get distracted.
I know. I was just like going.
Like any noise, I'm like, oh, what was that?
Yeah, not me.
Yeah.
But I just remember I was like, and it needed to keep that pace, and it didn't. So for me, that was definitely the least favorite read of the year. I was very disappointed by that book.
Wow.
Yeah.
I would not feel the same. I do not feel the same. It wasn't my favorite. I love the Crescent City series in general.
As do I.
And it's the worst of the three.
It's just very different.
I didn't mind it as much as you minded it.
Yeah, I had strong feelings.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you had big feelings about that one.
I did. Yeah. It's very big feelings.
As my friend who teaches little kids goes, today she's had big feelings. And I was like, that's the best thing I've ever heard.
Yeah.
For me, my beginning of my year started with some Allie Hazelwood. I started reading Allie Hazelwood at the beginning of the year.
That's
I read like Love on the Brain.
Which, my favorite of her books.
And it's not my favorite, but I liked it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Very interesting ending.
Weird
ending. I was like, what is this?
Very weird ending. If you look past the ending, it's a great book. The ending, you're just like, I'm gonna pretend that didn't happen.
This is so random. One of my favorite reads of the year, I actually lent it to you. I don't know if you ever got around to reading it. Was A Lady's Guide to Fortune Hunting.
I have not, but I texted you a few weeks ago and was like, I need something that's not going to require me to think a lot. And
I
you were
told you
like,
that.
read this book. I still have it at my house.
Yeah.
I'll probably read it or give it back.
That's okay. I have a few of yours behind me. And then, and another standout that we haven't talked about on this podcast is I read Woke Up Like This by Amy Leah.
You loved that book.
Yeah, it was really good. I think I give it like 4 stars on Goodreads, but it was like time travel, it was coming of age, but it was 2 characters. Mm-hmm. So it's like high school nemesis, boy and girl, have like an accident while fighting during like decorating for a dance. And time travel to the future where they're married.
Which that sounds so fun.
It's just fun.
That sounds really fun.
And they're like, how the hell did we get here? We're 16, but now we're in 30-year-old bodies, and we have like a life, a home, and we're supposed to love each other.
Yeah, that sounds fun.
It's a fun book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you also recommended that to me when I said I need a book that requires me not to think. And I still haven't read it, so I want to jump on that. I gotta get on that. I gotta get on
You
it.
gotta read mine. And
I know, because you read all the ones
I know, you gotta read mine now.
I know.
You gotta read an Amy Harmon soon.
Yes, I have to also do that.
Yeah, you do. And the last one I was gonna say, before I pass the torch back to you, is Traitor. My first reverse harem book. Yeah, I did not like this one.
Oh.
I don't know if this is my first reverse harem. It might be.
Wait a minute, is this the one with the presidents?
No, that was my first one. That was like a love throuple.
Oh, because you were into it, and then you slowly were like, I'm actually not into this anymore at all.
That was the American Princess where
Oh, that's right.
She's like fucking the president and the vice president, but they're all young. I'm like, what JFK world is this? And they're all hot? No.
Sign me up, personally.
People like that, though. I mean, it was very, if you like just, straight smut with no sense of any storyline that makes a ton of sense. I don't know.
It's great.
I mean, it just didn't sell me. I wasn't sold on, but then they're gay for each other, too, or something. And,
you told me about this, and I was like, that sounds interesting. I won't read it.
It was interesting.
Yeah.
No, but Traitor, it's, a girl and, 4 guys, I think, and they were, in,
That's a lot of guys.
But they're only they're high school or maybe
okay,
college.
Wait, we're gonna take a quick. You can read a book like this and be like, okay,
No, I didn't. No, I wasn't okay
but
about it.
you can't watch One Tree Hill because you don't think that the things that happened in that show are high school enough.
One Tree Hill is not high school enough. Who the fuck is getting married in high school?
What girl in high school is
without a baby in a belly?
Reverse harem with four boys.
Yeah, they might be. And because they went through some like, I don't know. It was weird. I wasn't into it. I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't into it. I think they're like in some like they knew each other in some like weird camp thing where they were like forced to be like they were kind of like abused as children together.
Okay.
And so there's like a lot of like trauma bonding between the group of them, but they blame her for something.
Okay.
And so they kind of all hate her, but they're all like super fucking attracted to her.
Okay.
Yeah, it's interesting enough.
All right.
It kept me for a book, and then I like realized I had to pay for another one, and I said, no, I don't care that much.
Not today. Not today.
Yeah. So all right, you give some early in the year stuff.
Well, yeah, because I'll stick with January because I had a decent January. I will say that I read, actually, just to get it off my plate, another book that I read that I did not like, that was very, 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 very popular, is When the Moon Hatched by Sarah A. Parker.
You didn't like that?
I didn't. I didn't care for the story. I also have another reason, which I feel like I've stated this before. I don't like when like male main characters swear a lot, like when they're like really like
vulgar.
Yeah, like so I like Cassian, but he's just a little too like rough around the edges for me.
Cassian's my baby.
Like to be my favorite.
Got it.
A little like too like just too like rugged. The main character in this was very much like that. The female main character was very annoying. And I started reading this because people were like, the writing is beautiful. And I'm reading this and I'm like, are we reading the same book? Because I like really like
flourishy books.
I love like flowery writing, and people were describing it like that. And I'm like, this is not flowery writing.
Yeah.
So just to get that off my chest, I did not like that book. I know that the second book's coming out next year. I will not be reading it.
It's super hyped.
It's very hyped. People really like it.
I never read it.
Not for me. But in a positive note, I did read one of my favorite romantasy. I don't even call it. I feel like romantasy and fantasy romance are actually two different things, even though they're really not, but like they are. I read Master of Crows by Grace Drabin. It's a standalone, and then it has like a little novella. I loved this book. I loved this book. I really, really liked the male main character. His name is Sahara. He is like the Master of Crows. He's a very, very powerful sorcerer. And like, he essentially is, nobody likes him. No one wants to be around him. And there's this girl, she's sent there by like the essentially like priests in a way to be a spy. And this girl is by no means anything like remarkable. And still like the way that their relationship like flourishes, his magic, like the magic system in it is really interesting and very different. Like the overall plot is really, really good. And I also really appreciated the romance. And I really like Grace Drabin's writing. Her writing for me just worked really well. A little bit of found family there. Like it was a good read for me to the point where I read it on my Kindle, bought a physical copy of it. And I will sometimes just pick it up and flip on through because I love it so much. Yeah. It was a great book. So that was like a really good way for me to like start off my year. And then a go-to author for me is C.W. Farnsworth. Her name like Charlotte Farnsworth. All of her books are on Kindle Unlimited. I read quite a few of her books. If I just want to read a book that I know I'm going to like, it's going to be a quick little thing, I will pick up Charlotte's books. And I read quite a few of those in January and I loved them. They were like quick, easy reads. And I just love her. She's a great, great author to pick up if you're ever looking for something. But I do think that her writing is specific. Okay. The way that she writes her characters, there's like not a lot of emotion there. But for some reason, I love it. Okay. Yeah. So January was good for me.
All right.
Yeah. And then February we were powerless in February.
Oh my God, we did.
Yeah, and we fucking loved it.
Yeah, and now I feel different feelings about it.
Upon reflection, we feel a little differently.
Yeah, like after reading Reckless, I'm like, did I love Powerless or was I just into the narrator? You know, because we both, I audiobooked it.
I did too. We all know I don't audiobook.
Yeah, but the audiobook was so good that I wonder how much I was bamboozled by the audiobook.
Yeah.
Because people I know that just read the actual like book were like, you like this book that much?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. I don't want to reread it to find out though.
No. I do think that I think it's very separate from Reckless.
It is. It is. Reckless was significantly just not as good as Powerless. Like just there was no comparison. But we did admit that like it was very much like the same package wrapped in a different bow.
Yeah, I mean this was not by any means like a new fantasy.
No,
but for some reason I was really into it. I'm so into it.
I think I really like we talked about this recently, like not on the pod, but like wanting really good tension.
Yes.
And this Powerless gave such great tension with no payoff, which is a little annoying, but like it kind of was fun. The fact that there was no payoff, but the tension, the way Lauren wrote the tension, I was into that.
Yes.
But then it just kept going in Reckless in a way where I was like, no.
Reckless was the most repetitive thing I've ever read in my life.
I DNF'd Reckless.
She will not be reading. What's the next one called?
I don't know. I DNF'd Reckless.
Powerless, Reckless,
Careless.
Fearless.
Oh.
Careless.
Not careless.
Yeah, Emily will not be reading it. I'm going to read it because I have to see it through, so I'll just tell her.
She's going to tell me because she told me how Reckless ended, and I was like, thank you, I don't need to read it.
But you read some books that you loved in February.
I did. Well, I read the entire Twisted series in February.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
I read Love Theoretically in February, which is my favorite Allie Hazelwood. Although I'm not in love, which we will talk about in the later in the year, might beat it. But I don't know. I really love Love Theoretically.
You felt very... I feel like you said you felt very seen.
I think that, yes, there was something about anxiety in that book that I was like...
Yeah.
Very like, oh, is that me?
Is this a mirror?
Yeah. And we read Bride in February.
We did read Bride, and you really liked Bride.
I liked Bride.
I, upon reflection, don't think I care for it that much.
It's not, if I had to rank it in my Allie Hazelwood lineup, it is not by any means a one-er or two-er.
No, I think actually Bride would probably be last for me.
Okay.
I don't know why. I think Low kind of gave me the ick. And I can't why.
Can't put your finger on it?
Yeah. I can't put my finger on it. But I remember reading it and I was like, okay, that was fine. And I have not thought about it since. Like, I will reread, because I have all of Allie's books on my Kindle. I'll reread those. Like, if I'm bored, I'll just, like, skim through them. I've never once re-picked up Bride. Not once.
Okay, yeah. I mean, honestly, same, but, like, I don't do that.
Yeah, but you're not like me. Emily will read a book and then she'll be done with it, and I will reread a book 400 times. Or parts of a book repeatedly.
And I can't tell you a synopsis a month later.
Yeah.
I have to wait. Hold on, let me go double check Goodreads. I read it. I remember having feelings in the moment.
Yeah.
What else did you have in February?
I read, two very notable things in February for me were, I read Into the Dark, the very last book in the Magnolia Parks series, for Magnolia, very last Magnolia book. That book for me I'll definitely say the one thing about it. It was very long, but I wouldn't change a thing about it. That book made me, like, hyperventilate, sob. And in my book, that's a win. Like, for the ending of a lot of character stories, like, I was like, this was perfect. I wouldn't change a thing. So that was definitely a really, really good read for me.
Yeah.
And then I also read Peaches and Honey in February.
Holy shit, you love that book.
And I loved that book so much. So for those who haven't heard of it, because it's by an indie author, so, like, I'm sure a lot of people haven't, but it gives Addie LaRue vibes,
Mm-hmm.
but it's like its own story in like its own right. So essentially, like, you follow this girl who becomes immortal, like, throughout real events that happen in history. So they're not like, nothing's made up. Like, you're actually going through time and events, like, throughout history. But she dedicates her very long immortal life to helping as much as she can.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going through this, like, book through the eyes of an incredibly hopeful and kind and caring person. And the male lead in this is absolutely perfect. And Rachel's writing is beautiful. I loved her writing so much. Like, that also is part of the reason why I think I loved this book so much. Like, just the way that she wrote things, I was like, it's the kind of writing I love. It's that floral, like, the prose was great. So that was a 5-star read for me.
Okay.
I think that was my first 5-star.
I think you told me that. Yeah, I remember that being a thing.
Yeah, I actually give the duology as a whole like 5 stars because I really liked it. So it's like magical realism in the first book, and then it gets a little bit more like fantasy elements to it. In the second book, like the stakes get high. And it was wonderful. I would recommend that duology to anyone. Everybody. Okay. So good. So good.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. I know it's on my like, it will be what I read next. It's like really high up on my TBR. I opened it on my Kindle, so it's saying that I'm currently reading it, but I haven't actually started.
We haven't actually started it.
Yeah. Because I do that. Gianna will text me because she'll get like a notification, be like, Emily started reading. You're like, oh my God, you started reading this? I go, well, no. I opened it hopefully and then haven't had a moment to sit down with it.
She's like, it's a placeholder.
Yeah.
It's a placeholder so I can remember to go back to it.
I have like, because normally like right before I travel, I'll download like a few books that I think I might want to read while I'm traveling. But then because you've done that, it puts it as currently reading.
Yes. Yep.
So I always get a little too hopeful when I travel that I'm going to suddenly read like 6 books. And I'm like, well, I don't want to find Wi-Fi when I'm there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Feel that.
I'm going to be real with you. I'm looking at my list from here and I don't know what months these were read.
Oh, no, me either.
Okay, cool. We're just going to now go into like...
Yeah.
We were very, like, I could kind of remember what I read in January and February, but now I'm like, rest of year.
Yeah. I remember because, like, I wrote some of them down for each month, but I'm looking at some of these books and I'm like, no idea if that was February or March. Not a clue.
Yeah. So we're just kind of going with it. I personally started reading Bridgerton.
Oh, yes, you did.
Yeah. I did audiobooks only for Bridgerton, by the way. 10 out of 10. One of the best narrators.
You told me this, yeah.
She does a great man's voice.
You did say that, yeah.
Which, if you're an audiobook girly, you know that that's like really important for somebody, if it's one person, to be really good at both genders.
Yes, I don't think I've actually listened to... no, that's a lie.
I think I played some for you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, you did, and I did like it.
Yeah, it's really good. Yeah, even like the smutty parts don't cringe you because like they're like actually like she does both people's parts really well. I think she's somebody famous too, so I don't think it's like she's an actress. I did that. I read the Emily McIntyre Hooked book.
You hated that.
I hated that book.
You hated that book.
I wanted to like it so much.
Yeah.
You haven't read that, right?
No, I refuse to. Because I know, you know when you just look at a book and you're like, I know I will not like that.
Yeah, I wanted to. I was like, I love this villain romance Disney hybrid thing, but not really Disney, not really like, I was like, give me this. This is it. This man's just a murderer.
Like, you said to me specifically, you're like, this man is not morally gray. He's just gray.
He's just morally corrupt.
Not a good person.
He's not a good person. It's not like, because I love a morally gray character. I like where you're like, oh, well, like, they kill people, but for good reasons. Like our boy Luigi. Oh, God, I'm just kidding. I only said that because we had a whole conversation about it today. I don't actually think that murder is not okay. But
murder is bad.
Murder is always bad. But, you know, people are really loving that man right now.
What? Just kidding. No, bad.
No, bad. It's bad. However, in Hooked, I was like, this guy just is a terrible person. And then, like, she's young as fuck. She's, like, a virgin, which I hate. Even
Yeah.
if they're gonna be young, like, you know, okay, like we spoil Avatar all the time on this podcast. She's not a virgin. She's young,
Which we appreciate.
but she's not a virgin. Like I'm like, I can tolerate a 19-year-old main character if that main character has banged somebody before.
I think that's part of the reasons why we get a little frustrated with Allie Hazelwood too.
Yes.
She writes like, and I'm like, it's okay for a woman to be sexually active. Like it is okay. It's fine. Like she doesn't have to be a virgin to be considered like someone who's pure.
Yeah. And I'm not like anti-virgin. I'm just saying the amount in the romance genre where the woman is the girl who's not like other girls, and who's a virgin and who's so kind and innocent, but she's normally really judgy, to be completely honest. They're always the judgiest main characters. Like, I don't want to read that anymore. I've read it. I didn't hate it, but I'm burnt out on it.
I've read it. I've been it. I don't want it.
I don't want it. So Hooked was definitely that. I'm not opposed to trying another Emily McIntyre book because I hear Hooked isn't her best. I don't think that's the one people love the most. I think they like the Scarred one the most.
I don't know. I think that I don't know which one people like more, but I do think that people don't like. This is not their favorite.
This is not the most popular one, so I should probably try one. They're not connected to each other, so I should just try one that's probably the highest rated.
Yeah.
I thought I was gonna like it because I loved the TV show Once Upon a Time.
Yes, but obviously, like, that hook is real different from this puppy.
That hook. We don't need to talk about that, but let's talk about that real fast. That hook was real hot. That hook. That's what I thought I was getting.
Okay, so, remember how I was telling you that, like, I love a pathetic man?
Yeah, that man's pathetic.
That man is pathetic.
In the best way.
Exactly, but that's that. Okay, yeah.
He loves her so much.
That he is so down bad that it's pathetic.
Maybe I'll rewatch Once Upon a Time. I don't rewatch that show at all. I such a quick aside, but because this episode's already be long, I had never finished the show, and like 2 or 3 years ago, I was like, I should really like watch the last couple seasons. It goes off the rails.
Oh, I'm sure.
It goes to a different city.
As all shows that are on too long do.
Yeah. But it still holds up. I still love that show. Yeah. Okay. All right. Some more books you've read.
Okay, so I actually read like 2 really big books in like series in March. Yeah. Big series. So I read the Addicted Calloway Sister series, and which you started.
I read the first book.
Yeah, and I did like it. The series as a whole, I did like. Well, you didn't get far enough in.
Because the first book's okay for me.
Because I'm fine with the Addicted books, whatever. I could give two. I don't care about Reich and Daisy, their books, their hot health, whatever. Them, I don't care about them. Do you want to know who I do care about? I care about Rose and Connor, okay? I am obsessed.
She's holding books if you're listening.
Rose. Oh yeah, if you're only listening, I'm holding 2 books up by my head. I'm obsessed with Rose and Connor. We got Kiss the Sky, we got Fuel the Fire. And I think that it's a crime that more people don't talk about Connor Cobalt. I was so down bad for this man reading these books. I don't know what it is about a man that is so unflappable. Like, nothing gets to him.
Yeah.
Like, it's not a facade. He genuinely is just completely unflappable, and I find that incredibly attractive. Also, Rose is such a badass bitch. Like, she is one of the coolest female main characters in the world. She's a bitch, but she owns like every single aspect of it. I loved reading the 2 of them. I love them so much. So I read that series, and then I read the Boys of Tommen series, which first read around I was like, this is fine. Then I read it again, and I was like, I'm actually obsessed with these books. Those books will rip your heart out while simultaneously making you laugh. They'll make you cry. They're not for the weak. That's all I'm going to say. About a group of friends who go to a school called Tommen, and it has some really, really, really heavy themes, like very heavy themes. So like, it's a good time, but it's also very emotional. Okay. And I will say, like, out of those books that I read, I would say Saving 6 and Redeeming 6 were my favorites of them.
Oh, I've heard of these books.
Yeah, I like Joey Lynch. I actually think about him once a day.
Oh my goodness.
And he's not even a real person, but like his story is so sad. So I read those books and I was really satisfied with those, but I also did read one of my favorite reads of the year as well. That was The Crimson Moth or The Heartless Hunter, whichever book you got the title by. That book was so good. The second one comes out next year. It's a witch and a witch hunter. It is hunted, hunter vibes. They are both essentially hunting each other, and the banter is great. The enemies to lovers is great. The storyline is great. The way that it ends is fantastic. Such a good book. March was actually pretty good for me. I had a good March.
You had a good beginning of the year.
I had a great beginning of the year. Started very strong.
Yeah, you did. I was gonna say I definitely read Josh and Hazel's Guide to Not Dating by Christina Lauren.
Yes.
And I loved that book.
Such an underrated book.
And it had tropes I did not like, and I loved that book.
Such an underrated book. Nobody talks about it, and I'm like, this book is so good.
I was obsessed with that book. I read Cold World. I didn't actually mind Cold World. I know you weren't a big fan of it, but I didn't.
I thought Cold World was fine.
It's fine.
Nothing memorable. It was fine.
It's fine. I did read my favorite of the Bridgertons so far.
Which one was that?
To Sir Philip with Love.
Oh.
It's Eloise's story.
I've actually never read that one.
That's my favorite.
Oh, mine is Francesca's.
No, I read Francesca's too. Eloise's is better in my opinion.
Okay, I'm gonna have to read it.
Yeah. You might still like Francesca's more. Francesca's is good.
I love Francesca's.
I loved Eloise's because it's a single dad romance. He has 2 kids. And like the way that their relationship unfolds, I was just so obsessed. Also, like the way he's described, he sounds like the hottest.
And I think that, oh my God, what's his name in Francesca's?
Oh my God, what is his name?
Oh, blanking hard.
Because it's not going to be a boy in the TV show, so.
No, I was obsessed with him. I'm like, you're definitely
he was super
the
hot.
hottest.
No, he was super hot. But like, Philip is like, well, okay, this is more like something I really appreciate. He's like very, like, he's very tall and very like, almost, I would say burly, but like a little like.
Okay, burly, not for me.
Not burly, but like, I don't like, he's just a little like, he's a big guy. He's like a tall, like larger than life guy.
Okay. Right now I'm just picturing Philip like in the show and I'm like, this isn't adding up here.
Yeah. I don't think they chose the right Philip for the TV show, in my opinion.
Have you seen him outside of the show? He is quite attractive.
He is super cute. Is that who they're going with? Is that who they?
So.
Okay.
I think
sometimes like they did change who Francesca was. That's not the same actress as season 1.
Yeah, but she was supposed to go do something else, and like I think it's still the same guy.
Okay.
But I don't know.
And it might be. I mean, I just personally, I just thought he sounded the hottest, but also like he was grumpy. It was a grumpy one. It was a grumpy romance.
Okay.
And she's like the light that comes into his life.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the kids are like very Macaulay Culkin and Home Alone kind of energy. Like they're like playing pranks on her and
Rambunctious.
stuff. Rambunctious, yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. Personally, favorite of the series so far. I haven't read the last 2. Gregory or Hyacinth? Yeah, I haven't read theirs yet. I also read Yours Truly.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite books.
Abby Jimenez.
Oh, favorite.
Loved Yours Truly. Yeah, loved Yours Truly, loved the Post-its, loved the characters. Like, I felt like their character development was really incredible.
Yes. Like, the representation in that book is also amazing. Like, for anxiety, the anxiety representation is
through the roof.
Incredible.
Yeah.
And also the, like, just men's mental health.
Yeah.
The importance of that and the fact that men go through it and how it's undermined by the people around them.
Yeah.
Really, such a fantastic book.
Really great book.
Absolutely love Yours Truly. Definitely my favorite of hers, for sure.
Loved it. Loved it.
Yeah.
All right, some of yours.
I actually, so nice little segue. I read Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez this year. And people loved that book. And once again, I am in the minority here. I liked it. I did not love it.
Mm-hmm.
I did like it though. And I think that's all I'm going to say about it. Because I don't really have much else, you know?
Fair enough. Yeah, that's a lot to say.
Yeah. A few other books that, like, notable books that I read at the same time. Funny story. April was, like, the month of, like, romance authors coming out with stuff. Like, I read Funny Story, which I loved.
Loved Funny Story.
Loved Funny Story by Emily Henry. I think it ranks as number 3 for me.
Yeah.
I think Funny Story is number 3 for me.
Funny Story is really up there for me. I really enjoyed Funny Story.
Yeah. I loved, like, I laughed, I cried a little bit. I don't know. I really, 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 really liked that book. That was a good book for me. I loved Miles. I loved, oh my God, great book. Can't remember her name.
Yeah, what was her name?
Millie.
Millie, there you go. Yeah,
Was it Millie?
I don't know. I'm going to go with it.
We're going to go with it. We're going to go with it.
I don't know.
I just really appreciated the characters a lot. And that was, I liked that book a lot. Other books that I read were, oh my God, I read one of the worst books I read this entire year in April. The Husbands by Holly Gramazio.
I have it on my bookshelf because she lent it to me,
Oh
and I haven't brought
gosh.
myself to read it yet.
That book, absolutely incredible idea.
Storyline. Oh my God, I wanted to read it so bad.
Concept, amazing. This girl, every time she sends someone up to the attic, a new husband comes out. Every time, completely different from the one that comes before. What a storyline.
Yeah.
The conclusion? Like, when I tell you that this book was all concept, absolutely no plot direction, though. Like, absolutely. Like, I'm reading it, like, okay, so what have we learned? Oh, nothing? Okay. So what's changing? Oh, nothing? Okay. And then by the end of the book, I was like, so basically, there was no character development, no plot development. It was really just like, here's a concept, and I'm just going to keep writing it over and over again for some pages until the book ends. And I was like, wow. Okay. Not for me, not for me, not for me. Not for me. And then I also read, I love Elsie Silver. You still have not read Elsie Silver.
I haven't read her books yet.
So I have read all of her books. I've read her Chestnut Farm series. Oh no, Chestnut Hills, I think. And then I read her other series before that, the one that came before that. And then she came out with Wild Love this year, which is like a series that's going to be all about like single dads. I liked it. It was fine. In my opinion, perfectly mediocre, which was a little upsetting because I love Elsie Silver. But those were like the ones in April, May-ish that I was like really looking forward to.
Yeah.
And I think the only hit was really Funny Story for me.
Okay.
That was it.
All right. I mean, that's fair. Funny Story was a really good book.
It was so good. I loved it.
Because around that time, I read a few misses as well. Because I read Touch of Darkness. Sorry. We're laughing because of my distaste for this book. It's so strong that at book club on Monday, I went on a full rampage about it.
Yeah.
And there was somebody in the book club that apparently likes these books.
Yeah.
They did not like my take. I mean, maybe they did. Maybe they didn't mind it. But Hades, great. Awesome. Love Hades in these books. I did turn out reading A Game of Fate. And then I decided to give up on this series. But I DNF'd whatever came next because I don't remember. Because I think A Game of Fate's from his perspective. And so I was like, okay, I can tolerate that. But what I struggle with, I mean, if you know us and if you know this pod, and if you know me, I struggle with age differences of millennias. She is, and in this one, it's rough because she is 21 and he is thousands, not hundreds. He is an original god.
Yeah.
And she acts like a spoiled 21-year-old.
We can't get behind that. We can't. I will never read these books because I know for a fact I won't like them.
It was bad.
Yeah, like I don't like them because I've seen fan art of them.
Yeah, and you don't like what the fan art looks
and the
like.
fan art that's depict him, and again, I'm really only seeing this singular fan art. But it ruined it for me. I was like, I don't like the way you look in this. That's bad. Yeah. But you and I, when it comes to like centuries upon like centuries old people.
Yeah.
And then like this random young girl who acts like she's a young girl. I'm like, me and Emily we don't fuck with that.
No, like it really bothers me. Like it already kind of bothers me if they're even mature. Like it still bothers me. Like, I saw somebody comment, why do all these women have to not have their full frontal cortex developed yet? And I know
they're not even 25.
They're not even 25 or 26. They're still teenagers 95% of the time. Like they're 19. 19 is like this mystical age that everyone suddenly enters a fantasy world at.
It's because like, you're just legal enough.
Why can't, yeah, exactly, which is terrible. And maybe it's to make it young adult, but I don't know. I could still read a young adult novel about a 27-year-old who ends up with a 300-year-old fae.
Yeah. Yeah.
That would be kind of nice.
I would actually be more down with that.
Honestly, yeah. Like, I'm just like, come on, guys. So, like, this one was hands down of age differences the worst because she's literally one of the most immature main characters I've read. If you can look past an immature main character, it's actually, he's very hot. He's great. But, like, I couldn't do it. I made you read this one, but I read Romantic Comedy by Curtis Sittenfield.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's an okay book.
It. You liked it more than me.
I liked it more than you.
I really did not like her. I thought she was awful.
She's kind of a piece of shit. But I did like, honestly, and it wasn't even the romance aspect.
It was the plot.
I liked the plot. Yeah. I liked the breaking down of their week because it's like a fake SNL. I liked the breaking down of their week of like how a week of SNL works. Like it got a little like documentary energy to it.
Yeah.
And then it had like a COVID aspect to it that was kind of interesting. I don't know, like to me, like plot wise, I was like, oh.
And I hate when there's COVID in books.
Well, no, but like it's
I'm
real.
I'm here to escape.
I didn't
Don't
mind
remind me.
I liked him a lot.
He was great, which is why I was like, you're great. She sucks. Like,
she's super insecure.
It was one of those situations where I was like, what on earth do you like about this girl?
Yes.
Because she's terrible.
Yeah.
She's wildly insecure.
Super insecure.
I don't know. It wasn't for me.
Yeah. I also, this one was a bust for me. I'm a decent Megan Quinn fan.
Yeah.
I read Bridesmaid for Hire.
Yeah.
Megan Quinn. Just like take your time next time. You're writing too many books.
You need to pace yourself.
Because Bridesmaid for Hire was not it. It felt like a lot of things slapped into a very decently interesting plot. It was, I don't know, to me that, I you know me, I actually like Megan Quinn. You're not a big Megan Quinn person.
I like one Megan Quinn book.
Yeah.
One.
I've read it quite a few. I'm like, Megan Quinn actually got me back into reading. Like how Colleen Hoover kind of got me back into. It was like Megan Quinn and Colleen. But Bridesmaid for Hire is like, the storyline is like, she like wedding plans. And then there's this like guy that like.
I already hate it.
Yeah, I know. Well, and so then, like she's going on vacation because she's a workaholic. And she's on vacation and there's like her, like this nemesis of hers, always a nemesis, like some like nemesis. And he happens to be in Aruba too, or wherever. It's not Aruba, it's Fiji, whatever, it doesn't matter. And they're at the same resort and they bump into each other. And he's like, oh, I'm actually going to this wedding of this like really big like wedding people that like the dad owns this giant wedding industry company thing. It comes out that they need a bridesmaid last minute. So she like pretends to be his wedding day to become a bridesmaid.
Okay. And
then they have a fake dating. I think he's like her like brother's best friend or some shit. I don't remember because I really hated it.
I really was just not about it.
No, it was not about it. Okay. You go.
I will say we also did read Yellowface for our book club.
I
am an R.F. Kuang. I love her. That book was a very good book.
Book was really good.
Very good book. Like just, I know that a lot of people said that if you're not in publishing, like you may not appreciate it. And I'm like, I'm not in publishing and I appreciated the shit out of this book.
I think if you're an artist, you can appreciate it.
Yes. Very, very, very good book. I really liked Yellowface. I know now where I am in the year. In May, I had a really good year for romance books, like fantastic year for romance books. So May, I read 2 of now, like they were instant physical buy books for me.
Okay.
The Summer Will Be Different by Carly Fortune. I can't even really put into words how much I love that book. Since I read it in May, I think I have reread it twice. I love it that much. The tension is perfect. It's best friend's younger brother, and it happens over years. So like you have like, that's how Carly Fortune writes. Like she will write like present and then like any past moments and information that you might need. And I actually usually don't like Carly Fortune's books. This one, ate it up. Anyways, the moment that Felix came on the page, like I'm not even kidding, on my Goodreads, I was like 2% in, and I updated to saying I was 2% in just so I could comment, I am down bad for this man already. Like I was obsessed with him from the second he was mentioned.
All right.
And the romance was just great. There was so much tension. There was so much tension and like yearning. It was so good. I ate it up. It was, I mean, if you don't like a lot of back and forth, I wouldn't say there's a lot of back and forth, but there's a lot of like, will they or won't they type situation in terms of like a relationship. So if you don't like that, you probably won't like this, but I absolutely adored this book. And then another book that I read that I am obsessed with, it's called Ready or Not by Cara Bastone. And it has the one trope that I can't fucking stand, which is the pregnancy trope.
Yeah, okay.
I hate that. I ate it up in this book. Like, it wasn't even like a pregnancy happens at the end type situation, because I don't like that all the time either. It was, this girl finds out that she's pregnant from a one-night stand. And it's like a little bit of a found family, but it's very specifically like another like best friend's brother. They've known each other for years. They have, like, it's also her best friend too. Like, he is her best friend too.
Wait, are they the one night stand?
No, she just like goes, she just has a one night stand and then she gets pregnant. And then, but her best friend's brother is literally the sweetest, kindest, like person in the entire world. So supportive. But has been like obsessed, like in love with her since they were kids.
Okay.
When I tell you, when people are like, read this book, it's so, like, if you love Emily Henry, like, read this book, it's very Emily Henry like, and then you read it and you're like, this is not Emily. The banter, the way that these characters are written, I was like, this feels like an Emily Henry like level book to me.
Yeah.
I loved this book so much. It is so sweet. It is so endearing. It's funny.
Yeah.
Like, she's funny. Like, I didn't dislike a single second of this book.
Okay.
It was so good. And it really took me by surprise.
All right, yeah.
Because I don't like the pregnancy trope. And I was obsessed with this book.
Interesting.
So good.
I was going to say, you said her name and I was like, wait a second. And I scrolled back. I read multiple Cara Bastone books at the beginning of the year as audibles.
Oh.
So
and did you like them?
She had Audible onlys. They were good. They were all like very, like, never 5 stars. But there was one called Seatmate and one called Sweet Talk. And I think there was another one I read. But they were all Audible only books. And I was like,
I wish this was like...
Yeah.
Were you like, I wish these were like a real book?
Yeah, they were good books. But they did have really good like, the thing about Audible onlys is they normally have multiple people doing the narration. So then they're really good narrated. Like, it's like professional actors.
Gotcha.
Well, actually, I mean, all narrators are professional actors, but I mean, like, it's a little more like, I always forget the name of what it's called when it's like multiple actors, and you always have to help me with this.
Graphic audio.
Graphic audio. So they're a little more graphic audio because they even had like noise of like when they're on a train, you can hear the train.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. But I read her and like Lauren Blakely. They have a lot of Audible only books that I've listened to this year that I liked.
Obsessed.
They're all just like really, they're easy, they were fun.
Yeah. Well, I think you should read this book.
Okay.
I think I might leave it here.
Okay, just leave it here. Yeah.
It was so good. It was so good. I loved it. those were two easily of my favorite reads of the entire year.
Okay.
For sure. Yeah.
I was gonna say, I started Throne of Glass this year.
Oh, yes.
So you know. I read The One Dark Window and Two Twisted Crowns duology.
I loved those.
I'm obsessed. I love those. Those were incredible.
Those are amazing books.
Amazing books.
And it's so rare that like the second book is even better than the first.
It was just like just a really well told story through 2 books.
Yeah.
Just
Actually,
overall.
let me rescind that. It's not really rare that a second book is better than the first. It's rare that a first book is so unbelievably good, and then the second book actually is also either just as good or even a hair better.
Yeah, it like matches it in quality and like story.
Incredible duology.
Incredible duology. Honestly, I would reread that.
I have reread them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the next thing I read that I know you haven't read because you haven't read any of her, and I've read all of her. It's okay. It's not your genre as much. I read Amy Harmon, The Outlaw Noble Salt.
You loved that book.
It made me cry like a baby.
Emily doesn't cry at books either.
It's Butch Cassidy,
Yes.
and he has a relationship with an opera singer who has a child with a deformity.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, fuck off. It was so good.
Like, talk about something that's going to make Emily cry.
While he is on the run.
Yeah.
And so the kid has like this big thing on their face. So like when they're in public, everyone remembers the kid.
Mm-hmm.
So like it's not somebody he can put him. It's not some like kid who can blend in. It's like, no, this kid is somebody people remember. So like him like going out of his way because he pretends to be her bodyguard at first. And then they like have a friendship and they have like this like support and they like, oh my god, it just and he gives up his safety for her. So like he's in France and he's escaped like what he's like he's fine.
Yeah.
And he bumps into her in France. And he decides to come back to the States with her even though it's dangerous for him because he'd rather be with her.
Oh, I gotta read this.
It's a really good book.
And like I love books that are just romantic, and this sounds just like so romantic.
It's so romantic, and like there's like twists and turns, and like you have Sundance Kid, and you have all the like. And the nice thing I like about Amy Harmon when she does historical fiction, and I've said this before, is that she will take real people, real storylines, and she'll like blur the edges and make it a little more of a fun story of like, what if this was how things turned out, or what if this is how this turned out. And so she does this with somebody who like notably died really aggressively and like who had this like crazy criminal past, but like what if he was a little more morally gray and not that bad of a guy?
Yeah.
You know, but like I don't know. She has yet for me, there were a few books of hers that I've read that I was like, but for the most part, she's normally a very like an easy 5-star read for me.
Yeah, you have consistently recommended her books to me.
Yeah, and the other night in book club, there was somebody in book club that had read one of her books, and I was like, thank God. I have yet to meet somebody in the wild.
No.
Like, I know she has fans. She has, like, a following, for sure. But, like, I had yet to talk to somebody in the wild and, like, just, like, in general who was, like, actually just read one of her books.
Yeah.
And they're really good. They are closed-door romance. She doesn't do smut. So for people who don't like smut, she's a really great author. But then also, it's just, she writes tension. She writes romance really beautifully.
Which I don't need smut all the time.
No.
Give me some tension and romance and I am good.
And a little bit,
hooked.
and you learn a little something about people.
Yeah, I'm in.
At the end, she always gives author notes about all the facts that she found out about that person.
Oh, see, I love that.
Exactly. This is why I get hooked on her, because every time her author notes, I'm like, oh, that was real? Oh, that's a real event that happened?
I love that.
And you kind of like learn something in the process of having a nice romance book.
Okay, I'm gonna
Yeah.
read it.
Yeah. So, where are you at?
I think we should definitely talk about the book that we both loved, Not in Love.
We loved Not in Love.
By Ali Hazelwood, which I have come to find out, because I am so chronically online, is not a favorite. Like, we are in the minority here on this one.
We kind of, I think we could call ourselves booked up minority.
Yeah. Like, we
in
are
the sense
not,
of like, we do not always have the popular opinion.
we are not getting the popular vote, and we are also not giving the popular vote. We are in the minority here.
Yeah, and as book talk goes, we definitely hang out in the other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because people did not like Not in Love. And I was like, it was so refreshing to read this book that was so different from what Allie usually writes. Don't get me wrong, we got the same, the same equation. Like, you still got like the same elements. It's still an Allie Hazelwood book. The man is still pathetic.
Yeah.
The man is still obsessed. Don't get me wrong. But like the fact that Rue was she was just so different from Allie's other female main characters.
Yeah.
And I loved it. I loved everything about this book. I would say it's definitely her most erotic book.
Yeah. Yeah,
which
for sure.
I liked. It wasn't just like...
But not in an obvious way. Like...
No. Like, it wasn't just like straight smut. Like,
No.
there was something erotic about it. And I really, really liked it. I thought she did such a good job.
What I loved about it is, like, the reason for not being able to be together was so valid.
Mm-hmm.
It was so valid. There was no, like, oh, God, they're both being immature, or, well, they're not communicating with each other. It was like, no, they're, like, in this real issue where they, like, both are crazy attracted to each other.
Mm-hmm.
They're both not used to being crazy attracted to somebody. Like, they're both not, like... They like to have sex, but, like, they both aren't people who, like, feel this kind of draw.
Mm-hmm.
And yet they're in this position where they have to be each other's enemy.
Mm-hmm.
And the people they love are against each other.
Yeah.
And so being together
So
hurts
good.
the people they love.
So good.
Like, fuck off, it was good.
Now, it's, like, people who don't like this book, I'm like, why? I
don't
need you to
get
tell me
it.
why.
I
Because
don't
it's
get it.
so good.
I mean, we live in this world because we like opinions. So
True, like... True.
I just don't understand. I don't get it. But
No.
to each his own.
As far as books that disappointed me, A Novel Love Story by Ashley Poston, it was fine, but The 7-Year Slip is one of the best books I've ever read. Like, I adore that book.
And people hate that book.
The 7-Year Slip?
Oh, I've seen people hate
I have
it.
never seen anyone hate that book.
I bet I have.
I haven't.
Oh, wow. Okay.
My algorithm, I guess, is showing me only the things I want to see.
That's what they do.
Wow, is that how algorithms work? But, like, I have never seen anyone say anything bad about it.
Oh, I have.
But in my opinion, like, The 7-Year Slip is a great book.
Oh, I love it.
I love it. So I was so excited for A Novel Love Story. And it was fine, but I was like, I'm let down here.
Yeah, her other books around A 7-Year Slip are, like, they're good.
Oh, I didn't like The Dead Romantics.
Yeah, I was cool with it. It was whatever for
It
me.
was fine. She's coming out with another book next year. It's about I think it's about a musician or two musicians.
Oh, I saw this.
Something like neither of them, they're both like in a music rut, like they can't write a song.
Yes.
And like something, I don't know, they communicate some way over something. I don't know.
There's
but
always
I'm like,
something
all right.
magical about her love stories.
Magical
which is
realism,
fun.
yeah.
Which is always fun.
Which I'm excited for that. Gonna give her another try. But around the same time as all of this was Reckless.
Okay.
We're not gonna give no more time to Reckless.
No, we already
it's
did it.
given enough. We've given it enough attention,
We did.
which was too much already. So yeah, that was a huge letdown.
Yeah. I read Kelsey Ray.
Oh my god, yes.
So if you like have gotten bamboozled or swindled by Kelsey Ray like I have. Also, you might like her. People do like these books. But I read Don't Let Me Go and Don't Let Me Fall by Kelsey Ray, and they're hockey romances. And she has these really great videos where she's like, imagine you're in a kitchen and da da da, and she like breaks down these scenarios. And I was like, okay, bitch, you sold me. I'm gonna listen. I'm gonna read one. So I read the first one. First one was okay. Second one, I was like, I gotta stop. They went on a long time. They were long. They're 400 plus books.
Oh my gosh. For romance, that's too long.
It's always too long. They're hockey romance, like very gray lines drawn of cheating in the first one, I would say. Like, second one, I don't remember exactly what that one was about. It will come back to me. But it was just like, I just remember being like, okay, we're done, Kelsey. You're like, it was.
You got me once.
Yeah.
And then you got me twice.
But
I'm done now.
I'll give you 2 books. Like, I'll always give you, oh, maybe this one wasn't your best, and I'll give you one more. You know?
Fool me once. Shame on me. Fool me twice. Shame on you.
Turn it around. No, those were not my hockey romances that I would.
Yeah.
I wouldn't recommend those books. I just remember being very annoyed by the main characters.
Mm-hmm. You told me about them, and I was like, I've seen her videos, and now I'm definitely, because she's almost hooked me.
No,
and now I'm like, I'm not reading this.
Her
She's got great marketing.
Her marketing's amazing because I was like sold. And honestly, the premise of both books was very good, like very entertaining. But as people put on Goodreads, she is not like other girls. Fuck that bullshit. I hate that. And you know what really quick. What I hate about that is, as a woman in this world, we always feel like we have to be that girl.
Yes.
So like when I was in my early 20s and my teens, I was like, I'm not like other girls. I'm not dramatic. And I would hide my feelings and my emotions and like try to not be the emotional one in situations because I didn't want to be like other girls.
Mm-hmm.
Or I wouldn't be dramatic, or I'd act like the guys' jokes that were not that funny or kind of rude were funny because I wanted to not like be like other girls.
Yeah.
And that like language is so damaging.
Mm-hmm.
And when we put that in romance books, it fucking pisses me off.
Yeah. I can't stand that. I hate that.
It's so misogynistic.
Yeah. It's such internalized misogyny. It's crazy.
It's insane. It's like, oh, you have to be different from other girls to be likable.
Mm-mm.
You have to be less like a woman. You have to get along with the men better in order for you to be likable. Fuck that.
Mm-hmm.
And as somebody who has a lot of male friends, we both have men. We have men in our wedding parties.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck that.
Mm-mm.
Fuck that. I hate that. Sorry, I just really. But it is. It's to me because I was raised in a world where like I'm gonna not like be like other girls, but like, what's wrong with being a girl?
That's the thing. It's like, what's wrong with being a girl?
What's wrong with being girly?
Like it's internalized misogyny.
It is. It's fucked up. It's fucked
crazy.
up. Okay, that was my rant.
Boom.
All right, you go.
Okay, another read that I had this year that ended up being one of my favorite. Again, I had a great romance here. The X-Files by Jessica Joyce. Her first book, You with a View, was one of my favorite books that I read last year. Okay. Amazing. And then she came out with The X-Files this year, and it was another amazing book. It was like a second chance romance, and it was for like real reasons. And I cried when I read this book because there was an aspect of it. I cried at this book for the same exact reason that I cried at Happy Place. It's just like this aspect of like getting older and realizing that your relationships and your friendships are changing and just kind of like grappling with that and not feeling like you're being left behind in those friendships and relationships. So like for some people, they may not like this because they'll be like, okay, well, this feels insecure. And sometimes like, I mean, for me at least, I'm not saying everybody, sometimes other people are like, I'm the most secure motherfucker you'll ever meet. But for me, I'm like, when I am going in different directions from the people in my life that I love, like, I just want to make sure that I'll always have them. So this book, on top of the romance, which was so good, the overall plot was amazing. Like, I loved this book a lot. I did end up buying it because it was one of the, I don't usually, like, if I buy a romance book on my Kindle, I'm probably not buying a physical copy of it.
Yeah, for sure.
Unless I'm like, I know for a fact that I want to be able to physically pick this up.
Yeah.
And like flip through it because I am a person who flips through.
I do like to flip through a book.
Yeah. So I'm just like, okay, so this was one of those books that I was like, I am going to buy you because I'm going to pick you up and I'm going to flip you through it. And since I read this book in, I think it was July, I have picked it up and I have flipped through it. I love this book so much. So if you haven't read this, read it. And if you haven't read You with a View, read that too. That book was so good. It was like rivals to lovers.
Okay.
But they're never really rivals, you know what I mean? So like, and it was like a road trip and like family history. Like, oh my God, it was so good. So yeah, Jessica Joyce, great author.
All right.
Yeah. And I think that was it for that month. Because then my next month was real good.
Okay.
I had hit after hit after hit.
Let's say, because then I went into Elle Kennedy territory for a minute.
Yes. which are great little hockey books.
The Deal and the Mistake. Those I preferred to the Kelsey Ray for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I did The Tangled Up in You by Christina Lauren.
Which is so cute.
Adorable. Absolutely adorable. I did a Cara Stone audiobook. Again, maybe this time. It was a time travel romance.
I need to get on her audiobooks.
Her audiobooks are fun. Yeah, they're fun.
I think I need to get on her audiobooks.
Okay, I'm going to point out that Teal Swan came out with a new book, and you know I love Teal Swan.
Yes, I do.
You don't fuck with Teal Swan like I fuck with Teal Swan at all. This book sucked. Fuck the bonus. I did not like it. I hated so much about what that book was.
I'm just like, I'm gonna shit on this right now.
I wanted to, because I love her billionaire romance books.
Mm-hmm.
This was one of them. It is a pregnancy trope. He knocks up his assistant after one night of sleeping together. They finally, after years of working together, she's like, I'm gonna quit, and then they fuck. That's how the book opens.
I'm into that.
Yes, I was like, yes!
It's like, okay, great start.
She gets pregnant from this.
Uh-huh.
She tries to tell him, I'm using air quotes, once. He doesn't get the phone call because he's in a meeting. She thinks he's ignoring her.
Oh my God.
She raises this child without him and never tells him. He finds out 10 years later, and she's like, why are you upset?
Oh wait, yes, tell me about this. Wait a minute, did they fucking work together?
Yes, they were co-workers. She moves to a cabin in the middle of nowhere and raises this child and acts like she's not the asshole.
That's just bad writing. That's
and
just
I was
bad writing, in my opinion.
You hid a child from him. And don't get me wrong, he said some fucked up things like, I can never have a kid with you because you're not I don't remember what nationality it was, but his family's very you have to date your own kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's like, I can never be with you. It was something he says at some point. So she holds on to that and won't tell him that he does have a child.
Mm-hmm.
And so the kid is kind of grown. I don't, maybe not 10, but it's enough that the kid can talk and go to school. That is not even a spoiler. The book goes on. There's so much more to the book. But that alone and her inability in the book to own up to the fact that that's kind of fucked.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, he didn't handle things well either in the beginning, but it's a child.
But
it's a child. A child's involved. It's not just your feelings.
Trying one time and then being like, oh, he's ignoring me, and then fucking off to a cabin for years. I'm sorry. How are you okay?
She
mentally?
Moves to a small town to get home. She's like, I'm gonna move because she was planning on moving to small. She had bought the house before she quit the job. Whatever. It's a whole thing. But even so, that's a child. That also affects the kid.
Yeah.
It's so selfish. I couldn't get past her actions to enjoy the book.
I mean, if I read that, I would have been like, I'm stopping. I'm going to stop reading this.
Yeah.
book. Yeah.
Yeah.
Feel that.
I don't like books like that. I did another, oh my God, what's her name? Leanne Slade, I think is her name. I like her books. I did a few of her audiobooks this year.
Okay.
I did Told You So and The Glitch. I like Told You So more. Told You So was a woman and three guys, a love square.
Okay.
Which was really fun.
Good.
And then I did Icebreaker.
Uh-huh.
These are things she recommended to me, so we're just saying them out loud quickly. And they're not worth talking about.
Oh, but if you want to talk about the one that I want you to talk about.
The Mattis Obsession.
Oh my God, I could talk about this book for days.
I don't need to talk about everything. Mattis Obsession was very good.
Okay.
She recommended it. I was like, I need something.
I'm not a mafia book girly. It's just not something that I'll usually gravitate towards.
Yeah.
This was maybe last year that I read Sweetest Oblivion, which is the first book. And I thought that was good. I thought it was good. And then and then I read The Mattis Obsession. I fear that I will never love someone the way that I love Christian Alistair. Because Christian Alistair, he may not, when you're reading it, you may not, think of him this way, but that man is pathetic.
Yeah. For her.
It's so pathetic for her.
For her.
And her name is Gianna, which,
Yeah. She is.
But you've got this girl the one girl who doesn't fall at this man's feet.
Yeah.
And she's funny.
Yeah.
Like,
she's a lot of fun.
So funny.
She's a great main
She's
character.
her own person, and she just literally is like, yeah, you're hot, but I don't really give a fuck about you. And he's obsessed with her.
Yeah.
To the point where it's pathetic. I love that book. I love that book so much. It is a go-to read for me. I'm so happy you ended up liking it.
I really liked it because I just skipped the first one. She's like, just read the second one. Because I don't remember what I was saying I needed, but you were like, I think I have a book for you.
Oh, so
and I was like, okay. And I read it. I was like, that was exactly what I needed. It was so much fun. I also read The Friend Zone by Abby,
which I also recommended to you, and you did like it.
I liked it. Yeah. It was a little too close to home, but it was good.
Yeah.
I was like, oh wow, this feels personal. Okay, what about you?
So then I had like a really, really, really good August. I think it was like a great August. I read Mages of the Wheel, that series by J.D. Evans. One of my best reads of the entire year. The first book, Rain and Ruin, is definitely my favorite. J.D. Evans' writing is very romantic, like very floral. Again, so it's like this shit that I eat up. But there's so much like political scheming happening in this book. So like it is a romantasy. Like the series itself is an overall romantasy. So it's a series. They're all connected. There's an overarching plot that comes across all of them. But the first one is my favorite. I just really like the pairing in this book. The way that they really are each other's like counterparts in very different ways, in a way that like makes sense. Like it really to its core just makes so much sense, the two of them together. And then you have the female main character. I'm not gonna say her name because I'm gonna butcher it. But you have her she's so strong and she's smart and she's powerful, and people want to underestimate her because she's a woman. And it's set in like Middle Eastern aspect of things. So she is the Sultan's daughter. We know how things go. It's like, oh, you're not a male. Oh, so you basically we don't want you here. And she is the only heir to the throne. And she's just so strong and so smart. And it was such an amazing series as a whole. But Rain and Ruin was definitely my favorite. I just read that series, and then I immediately read the Poppy War trilogy.
Okay, yes.
I'm going to say this straight up here right now. If you decide that you want to read the Poppy War trilogy from this podcast, please check your trigger warnings, because it is very violent. It's based on real events that happened. Like, it's based off of the second Sino-Japanese War.
So it's a historical fiction book.
It's a historical fiction book. So there is in the first book.
I didn't know that. I thought it was fantasy.
It is fantasy.
Okay.
But it's based off of real events that happened in a real war.
Okay, kind of like Outlander.
Yes. But there's a battle, or there's something that happens in the first book that happened to like real people in real time. And it's explained very graphically. Like she's not mincing her words. She's like, this happened to people in like real life. And I remember reading it and I started to cry because I couldn't believe that I was like, it's like I was reading like a history book.
Okay.
Because she was like, no, this happened. This happened to people like this, like what I'm describing to you.
It's
like,
real.
This is real. And I remember I started crying because I was like, I can't believe that this actually happened. So it's a very heavy book. I've actually seen people say that they read the first book and were like, this was incredible, but I cannot actually continue on because it's like that heavy. Easily one of the most incredible series I've ever read. R.F. Kuang, she just has a way of making you see and feel things that is unmatched. And the first book, incredible. Second book was actually my favorite. It was even better than the first. It was heart-wrenching. And then the third book was also incredible. It was just a trilogy like no other. I finished it and I was like, will I ever read this again? No. But am I happy that I read it at all? Absolutely. But I will never, ever read this series again.
That's fair.
Ever. because I'm like, I don't want to put myself through that ever again.
No,
So, yeah,
I don't
but
blame you on that.
oh my gosh, it was so good. Like, if you want to read about like real shit, this series, this trilogy is some real shit. So that was good for me.
Okay.
That was good.
All right, I feel you.
Mm-hmm.
I tapped into the fine print.
You did.
I did. By Lauren Asher. I feel mild and mediocre about it.
I hate that series.
It was fine. It was whatever. It's like, I'm not a Disney adult, and no qualms to anyone who is. It's just like, I don't think it feeds a part of my soul that I need to be fed.
I feel that.
You know, like, it's like, it's an an insider scoop kind of like a Disneyland-like place. I don't need that. Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't, if somebody put the other book in front of me, or if I like decide to read, I might try the second one. It wasn't.
Yeah, I read Lauren Asher's books, and then I ask myself, why am I still reading Lauren Asher's books?
Yeah.
That's just kind of where I'm at with her. Like, I'm not, and no hate towards her or anything, but I've definitely moved on from her. I don't think I've ever really read a Lauren Asher book and been like, I thoroughly enjoyed this. I think I've always been like, that was fine.
Yeah, I was fine with it. It had moments I was like, oh, that was nice. Or like, oh, like, I didn't feel a lot while reading it, I guess. I did another Elle Kennedy book. I did the score finally.
Good book.
I think I like that one. I did more audiobooks. This year was my year of the audiobook. Because right now I'm looking at 4 more titles that I did as audiobooks.
You're also really busy.
I was really busy this year.
And an audiobook is just better for when you're really busy.
It is. And it feeds your soul in the same way. So I'm looking at, which one did I like though? I don't remember. Audiobooks. These are like, they're fun. They blend. They were all kind of the same. I do like, if I'm going to recommend audiobook authors that I've enjoyed, Lauren Blakely can be a little cringy, but she's fine. Cara Bestone has really good audiobooks, and my favorite definitely is Leanne Slade. She's a British writer, so her people always have accents.
Love.
Yeah. So
love.
You can give some more books that you've read this year. I'm running out.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to rapid fire through some of these. So a book that I was looking forward to all year that didn't like super let me down, but definitely let me down a little bit, was Nothing Like the Movies by Lynn Painter. I love Better Than the Movies. It's one of my favorite books of all time. It's just like a rom-com lover's dream. And
that book is why we have this podcast.
It is, you're right.
Because she recommended that book on her TikTok. We were kind of friends.
Yeah.
We were like friends.
Yeah.
And then I messaged you and was like, yo, I took your advice. I read that. Loved it. Here are some books I've read. And then that's kind of where we started passing along book suggestions to each other.
Yeah. Well, that book started it all.
It did.
And I was so excited for Nothing Like the Movies, and then I read it, and I was disappointed. It was fine. But sometimes it definitely proved to me why I think romance books don't need a sequel. Leave them how they are.
Louder for the people in the back.
Just kind of like leave them how they are. So that was disappointing.
Epilogues are fine. Sequels are not.
Yes. Give me like a 5 years in the future epilogue. I'm good.
A long epilogue too. It can be a chapter or two.
Give me 2 epilogues. I don't care.
I don't like a abrupt ending either. But like sequels, no, not for romance.
No. Then I read another book that I really, really, really liked. So Lost and Lassoed, which is part of the Rebel Blue Ranch series by Lila Sage. That was my favorite one of all of them. That was just like a fun time. It reminded me very, very much of Heartless from the Chestnut Springs series by Elsie Silver, but like in the best way possible. So I loved that. And then I think you and I can agree that we read a book this year that was really, really, really bad, that we really, really didn't like.
Quicksilver. Yeah, we have equal mutual feelings on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have an episode on that if you want to listen to it, where we really like dig into how we felt.
Yeah.
We won't do it now because
no,
I don't think that we should shit on it that much. But yeah, we did not like that book.
To sum up the sum of our parts for that whole episode, it's not that it was the worst book we've ever read. It was that it's a book we've read too many times, and it felt like a bunch of books we've read compiled into one book.
Yes.
That's, I think, the sum of it.
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah, if I had read this like 3 years ago, I probably would have liked it a whole lot more.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think that we've read enough now where we're like, please give us, if you're gonna give us the same idea, that's fine, but like make it present it to us in a way that makes it different.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that was what, because to me, like, Fourth Wing also is within that category, but I enjoy Fourth Wing more.
Yes.
Yeah. They're the same. I'm not gonna say that they're like any better written or anything like that. I prefer Rebecca Yarros's Fourth Wing series.
I would agree. Yeah, I would agree.
Okay, this is a random one, but I just have to say because I was like, maybe I should comment on this. So I listened to I was like, I want an easy romance to listen to while I'm at work. Although sometimes that's really rough because when smut comes up while I'm working, I just have to stop listening because it's weird. But I read this book and I was like, the cover is like a hockey player and a girl.
Okay.
And they look all like schmoozy with each other. And I was like, oh, fun little romance. And it was called As Luck Would Have It. And it was this book about this Indian hockey player girl in Canada.
You told me about this.
And she's an Indian hockey player, and her brother is an Indian hockey player. And her family's very superstitious, and so she's her brother's lucky charm. And he gets, like, drafted into the Canadiens.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the Montreal Canadiens, I think? Yeah, it's the team. The
Sounds
hockey team. And they actually used real hockey teams and real hockey players
The
in this
Maple
book.
Leafs.
Yeah, well,
Canucks.
But what I was impressed with, they used real, like, it wasn't like a fake hockey world. They used the real hockey world as a hockey fan. And she's a hockey coach. And it was more about her Indian culture and the misogyny in it than it was about their relationship. It turned out not being a romance novel, but it was good. It was just not what I expected it to be. So that was a surprise near the end of my reading year. I was like, oh, I just read this whole thing about Indian culture and like social norms in their community. You know, it was a good book. It wasn't a bad book, but it was just like not what I thought I had signed up for. But then it turned, there is romance in it. It's just not the main plot.
Which is nice. It was like a contemporary romance.
Yeah. It was for sure. And okay, do you have any other ones?
I have 2 left. Do you have anything left that you want to talk about?
Things we've talked about on this podcast, so no.
Okay.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm gonna finish with the one that I want to. I read The Songbird and the Heart of Stone, which is the 3rd book in the Crowns of Nyaxa series by Carissa Broadbent. I really liked it. I definitely need to reread it because I read it right after I read what I'm going to talk about next, which is the best book that I read the entire year. And as I'm reading Songbird, I'm still very much thinking about the previous book. So I think I need to reread Songbird because I think my main thing was I felt really lost in the plot. And I think that might have been a me problem and not her problem. So I'm going to reread it and go from there. But I did like what I did read. I'll say that. But to get to the best part, the best book that I read this year was Blood Over Brighthaven by Emma Long. I could have a month to talk about this book and it still would not be long enough. It was incredible. Brief synopsis, because I want everyone to read this book. It follows this girl named Siona who becomes the first female high mage in all of history. And that is because in this society, they truly believe that a woman's mind cannot handle the weight of magic. So it's like a dark academia fantasy book. So she becomes the first high mage, like female high mage in all of history, and she's brilliant. I also think that she might be mildly autistic.
Okay.
Which I thought was great.
Yeah, that's great.
And
to include.
And because nobody takes her seriously, because she's supposed to get an assistant.
Yeah. Nobody
takes her seriously, so when she gets an assistant, they're like, oh, as a joke, like, here you go, you can have the janitor as your assistant. And the janitor they call them the Quen. And this means the Quen are essentially the indigenous immigrants. So you have this city, and the city's in a barrier. And then you have the people who live outside of the barrier, and those are the Quen, and that's like indigenous tribes. And the Quen only come to the city because there's this thing called the Blight.
Okay.
And the Blight is killing them. It's killing off whole tribes. And if you can survive making it to the city, that's great, but you will never become like a functioning part of society beyond a janitor or a seamstress or a laundress or whatever. So basically, her and this janitor, she's like, you know what, fine, yeah, I'll take him. Like, she doesn't look down on him or anything. And as they work together, they make a very, very large discovery that is so dangerous to even know anything about. And the way that this story pans out is just, it's incredible. It's hopeful yet bittersweet. It'll make you angry, but it'll make you feel, I think hopeful is just like the best word for the opposite emotion of like the anger you feel in this and the confusion, because this book doesn't present any themes that are different from what happens in real life. Like, some very defining themes are women's rights, obviously, women's rights, immigration and how we treat them, indigenous tribes and how we treat them, and also like how we essentially, by we I mean like the white man takes and takes and takes from marginalized communities and makes it their own, and then basically says, well, it's mine now, so you can now go be the lowly person beneath me while I take this from you. And
what up, Britain? Sorry, we also do that, but Britain started it.
So I mean, Columbus.
What up, US?
So the great thing about Emma Wong is she presents these things that are very important to this storyline, that are things that you're like, well, of course I've encountered this in my life, or I've seen it, or it's happening all around me. But the way that she presents it to you, she presents it in a way that it's like, it makes you feel like you've never felt that anger before.
Okay, cool.
I cried 7 pages in. Like, from the get-go, I was like, oh, okay, this is gonna hurt. I cried halfway through, and then at the end, I was actually just sobbing, because I wouldn't say that there's a happy ending here at all.
Is it a one-off?
It's a one-off.
Okay.
Something I know about Emma Wong is that she writes really devastating novels, and you're like reaching the end, and you're like, okay, so there will be some closure here, and then that just never happens. Because I think that she writes things just in the most real way possible. It's like, you don't always get closure from terrible things that happen to you. You don't. You just keep moving forward.
Yeah.
You just keep going. So I want to read her other book, The Sword of Kaigen. I haven't started it because I know that it's going to rip me apart.
Yeah.
But Blood Over Brighthaven is hands down one of the best books I've read in this entire year. It's probably one of the best books I've read in a really long time.
Okay, wow.
Yeah, I love this book. I've been recommending it to anyone who will listen.
Yeah, you have been. Yeah, you've been on
I'm
it.
like, you want a book?
And it doesn't look like it's long.
It's not long at all. I think it's like over 300. I think it's under 400 pages.
Okay. Well,
it's really quick.
That's digestible.
The plot progresses really quickly. Like, there's always something. It was so good. I would definitely say don't read it if you're looking for an escape from reality.
Okay, fair enough.
Because it's like I said, the themes in it are not
mentally prepared to be emotionally wrecked.
Yeah, like the themes in this book are not things that you're going to be like, this doesn't happen in real life. You're going to be like, well, this happens all the time. Okay. Yeah. But so good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you have any DNFs this year?
What, did I have any DNFs?
Do you have any books that Goodreads still thinks you're reading?
I did DNF The Games Gods Play by Abigail Owen. I hated that book. That book was so bad. I just stopped. I was like, I'm done. Which I don't usually DNF, but I was like, I actually do not want to waste my time reading this. No, I'm still, all of the books that I said I started, I still have intentions to read.
I have a few DNFs.
Okay, same.
I DNF'd The Touch of Ruin.
Mm-hmm.
We already discussed that. I DNF'd the first Zodiac Academy book.
Oh my gosh, thank God.
I really was open to it. And then I was like, where is this going? And I was like, does anything happen in the first book? I just couldn't get through it.
No.
I did not enjoy it. I know a lot of people are super hooked on those books. It's just not for me. I don't know if I will call this a DNF. I might DNF this is the Ricochet book, the second in the Addicted series.
I think you should keep going.
Okay, I'm going to give that, I'm going to give it a little more of a try.
I think you should keep going.
Books about addiction feel a little too close to home.
I feel that.
So it's like, it's not leisure reading for me.
Yeah, and I would definitely not say that those books are like easy.
No, so
Okay.
I'll get around to it. Yeah, I'll
out,
figure it out when I'm in the good mood. But yeah, those are my DNFs of the year. The other ones I do intend to read, I just opened them up and didn't start them.
Yeah, I don't think I DNF'd really anything.
I will DNF a series. Oh, I DNF'd Reckless. It's not on here, but I DNF'd Reckless too. I was audiobooking it and I couldn't even finish the audiobook. That's how much I didn't like it. Which says a lot because audiobooks, you don't really do a lot of work.
You're just like, I just really cannot listen to this happen again. Because I already listened to this happen 4 times in the last 25 minutes.
Yeah. And I'm a huge DNFer. I do that with books that are considered good books. I have started the book Little Women like 4 or 5 times.
Oh, but it's such a great book.
And I've never finished it. And I love the story. I know the story because I've seen the movies.
Mm-hmm.
And I, as a kid, was obsessed with the movie, and so would open the book and like try to read it and never could finish it. Maybe one day I'll finish Little Women.
Maybe
one day. Well, that was our review of our year.
Yeah, I mean, in reflection, I think I had a pretty okay year. I definitely had like a better year last year.
Yeah, this wasn't my best year of reading.
No, and a lot of the things that got released this year, I think I was a little disappointed in. Some, or not a lot of them, but some of them I was like, I thought that was going to be better.
Hot take.
Oh, okay.
Is book talk rushing authors in a way that maybe is like lowering the quality?
If Iron Flame is anything to go by,
yes,
I will say yes.
Right?
But at the same time, I don't know, because I think that was a very special case.
Okay, yeah, but I do feel like people are pumping out books quickly.
I do agree with that. I think that people are moving way too fast and they're not like giving it the time it deserves.
Because
but I don't know.
reading has this resurgence of like popularity. It's never like reading's never been out of style, but it's had a very big resurgence with like ACOTAR and Fourth Wing and these like really popular romantic books that like Twilight and 50 Shades of Grey had in the early 20s.
Yes.
In the early 2000s.
In the early 20s.
In the early 20s.
When F. Scott Fitzgerald wrote them.
In the early 2000s. Oh my God.
F. Scott Fitzgerald wrote Twilight and
exactly.
Ernest Hemingway wrote The Hunger Games.
But if you think about it, there was like a lull between that.
There absolutely was.
And now it's like, and not to say those books like ACOTAR and like Throne of Glass and books like that were coming out at that time, but they hadn't had that popularity that they have now spiking.
Mm-hmm. No, I think you're correct. Yeah.
So I think there's a level of pressure by publishers to get these books out faster, and maybe they're not quality checking as much.
I agree with that.
So I think that might be why maybe a few of the new releases were a bit of a disappointment.
Maybe.
Yeah. It's just a hunch.
Yeah. And I think that maybe my taste is also just completely changing.
It's evolving. It can evolve and change, yeah, for sure.
But I still had a good year.
Yeah,
still, and the year's not even over yet. Who knows what I'm gonna read next?
Yeah, we'll have a few more. Yeah. But yeah, I guess that's all. If you like us, please rate, review, subscribe wherever you're listening to this. And if you want to follow us, you can follow us on Instagram at bookedupbabespod and TikTok at bookedupbabes. And if you want to email us, it's bookedupbabes@gmail.com. And other than that, I guess that is all.
And we'll see you next year.
See you next year.
All right.
Well,
bye.
All right.
Okay. Yo, cool.
Same.
Oh yeah, cool. True.
The amount of times at work that I go cool.
Cool.
My boss goes, do you do this on purpose? Kind of.
Yes.
Kind of. All right.
It's like a tick at this point.
It is.
It's like
I just don't even know I'm
tick.
doing that.
No.
All right.
Okay. Like, he is just somebody who...
We have to stop. Oh my god. I kind of want to see what we do when that happens. Oh my god.